Hello everyone, this is teacher Adanaj. Today I want to share with you modal verbs and infinitive forms for giving advice. The primary modal verbs should, ought to, and had better helps us for giving advice. Plus to this, we'll look at infinitive forms for giving advice. In this video, I want to share with you the similarity, difference, and how to use in different situations. Let's get started. Should and ought to. Should and ought to are used to talk about obligation, assumption, and to give advice. The negative form of should is should not or shouldn't in short. And the negative form of ought to is ought not to. Ought to is not very common in question form. For example, you should not be late to the class. We should help elderly people. She ought not to ignore her work. He ought to be home by 7 o'clock. In different situations, we use differently. Let's see. Should and ought to are similar in meaning. For example, sometimes we can use them interchangeably with same sentence, like we should clean up the garden, we ought to clean up the garden. In same sentence, interchangeably we use that. But we need to have some serious situations in different contexts. Should is more common than ought to. Ought to is more formal than should. Should is much more common in negatives and questions than ought to. For example, where should we go to eat? You shouldn't eat too much sugar. Let's see had better. Had better is used to express a strong warning or advice, often with a sense of urgency. It implies that there will be negative consequences. For example, he'd better study for the test because he's failing the class. I'd better not eat another cake because it will ruin my dinner. You'd better not to be late. Okay, let's see the similarity between had better and ought to. Ought to and had better are same, and they are called semi-modal verbs. They share the characteristics of both modal verbs and main verbs. Like modal verbs, they don't change their forms for different person or tenses. Unlike modal verbs, ought to is followed by to, and had better is composed of had and better, which are both main verbs. Let's see there are 3 of them differences with some example and situations. They are different in their strength, usage, formality, and frequency. Should is mild suggestion, general advice, opinion, or less serious than ought to. On the other hand, ought to is strong suggestion, advice, because it reflects moral obligation, serious obligation, and necessity. Had better is very strong than ought to and should. We can advise people when, depending on the context, when we want to share, when we want to suggest a warning, urgent advice, or threaten people. So, it's less formal to use had better and infinitive forms in most situations. Using should, ought to, or could also sometimes used for giving advice is more formal and polite ways to give advice. Let's see some situation. Here I have 2 situations. Let's see the first situation about Bethlehem. Bethlehem, who is a first-year university student and has recently moved away from home for the first time to attend her undergraduate studies. She is experiencing homesickness and feels lonely in her new environment, which is affecting her ability to concentrate on her studies. Which modal verb best fits to advise Bethlehem in the context of Bethlehem? This situation depends on our suggestion. First, we need to understand the situation. Based on that, ought to is more preferable than should and had better in the context. Why? Let's say the example maybe. You ought to reach out to your family regularly through phone and consider joining some campus activities. We can suggest Bethlehem like this. Then What we are saying here is that doing so would be beneficial for her emotional well-being and social integration. Rather than using should, it implies if we use should means it's less formal, it's less serious than ought to. If we want to use had better, let's say, you had better talk to a friend about how you feel. This is not a very urgent kind of suggestion. It doesn't need. There could be serious effect, which may not be the most supportive tone for Bethlehem experiencing homesickness. Okay, let's see the second situation. Lemma is a second-year economics student who is struggling to balance his academic responsibility with his social life. He enjoys spending time with his friends and participating in extracurricular activities, but he often finds himself falling behind in his studies, leading to stress and anxiety. Let's suggest lemma. Which modal verb best fits to advise lemma? Depending on the context, depending on the situation. So, using should is better than ought to and had better. For example, why we use should? Because through should we can suggest people because with constructive and supportive advice without adding pressure to encourage him to find a balance in a positive way. Like, you should prioritize your studies and set aside specific times for social activities. Rather than pressuring him, rather than giving a warning kind of suggestion, should is more preferable than ought to and had better. Let's see infinitive forms for giving advice. We have two kinds of infinitive forms in English. The first one is bare infinitive, the second one is to-infinitives. Bare infinitives are verbs without to. To-infinitives are verbs preceded by to. There are some structure to use to-infinitives. This might be depending on the verbs followed by to-infinitive, like I recommend you, I advise you, I encourage you, with to-infinitive, and we suggest people accordingly. There is also another structure to give advice using infinitive forms, like it's important, it's necessary, it's a good idea. Depending on this, we use to-infinitive to suggest people. When we use bare infinitive, usually we are suggesting direct, like try this new private clinic, avoid eating too much pickled food, consider taking a nap. So we optionally use different infinitive forms depending on our suggestion. Okay? Now, let me leave you with some situations and activities to practice on. Read the following two situations about Helen and Bella. Depending on that, which modal verbs best fits for advising them? Had better, should, ought to, or infinitive forms. Here I have another activity for you, blank spaces. Use the correct form of suggestion, ought to, should, or had better based on the situation. The situation leads us to use either of these. Okay, so that practice on that. Thank you for watching.